am not blessed in the glute department. So I genetically don't have anything. And what I have, I've built. And I wanted to sit down and discuss how I actually built my glutes. Now, I put up a transformation on my story the other week, and I had a lot of people say to me, wow, like, you've really made some good progress. And I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, it's years and years of dedication and years of making sure that I've picked the right exercises for me. So I thought we could talk through one of my 3 glute days. So I currently do glutes on a Monday, a Wednesday and a Friday. And I have had a drop in reduction in volume, meaning I'm doing less working sets. So it's something that I had to get accustomed to. So I thought, how I always start my glute day is I always try to activate my glutes, and that is through some variation of a kickback. So for me specifically, I know that my side glute, we're going to simplify it, isn't that strong. So I know that it's very much a case of making sure I'm activating that side glute. So before I do 2 out of 3 glute sessions, I'm doing some form of abduction. So here you can clearly see I'm doing an abduction and a kickback to the side, and that therefore helps me develop that mind to muscle connection. But also, before I go into a compound lift or a bigger lift, that's something that I'm really taking cautious and being careful of, so that I can be maximizing my time under tension to that muscle, because for me, that's something that I've always struggled with. Now, next we move on to the hip thrust. So you can do a barbell, you can do a machine, you can do any variation. Now, I used to do a full rep then a quarter rep, but actually coach dropped the quarter rep out, so now I'm just doing full reps. So here you can clearly see I am doing 6 and a 5, which I'm working my way up, and I'm really focusing on not exaggerating the movement. So I'm not going all the way down, all the way up. I'm just doing that partial movement at the top and making sure I'm keeping that tension in my glutes. That is the most important part. I have had clients with their feet too far away, feet too close together. They may activate their quads, they may activate their hamstrings, but it's all about making sure that you have the most amount of tension in your glutes. So the movement is actually probably a lot smaller than what you anticipate you need to do. And that's something I see time and time again with clients, is that they really exaggerate the movement. But they need to take a step back and realize it's not an exaggerated movement. It's about making sure that you are doing a movement that suits your biomechanics. And especially because I'm 5'7.5", as you can clearly see from like a lot of the movements, it's something that I do have to take into consideration when I am altering movements and making sure that they work for me. Now, the next way that I definitely grew my glutes is developing it in a form of a Romanian deadlift, RDL. Now here I'm lucky enough to have access to this machine, but I also do a barbell, and I'm really focusing on maximizing every single element of the tension all the way down, taking a micro pause and going all the way up. For me, barbell RDLs are really difficult. And there was a time when we were trying the hex bar, we were trying multiple elements of everything that we could to make sure that we could really nail that form. But I went back to the barbell, and I would arguably say, yes, sometimes I feel like my form could be improved, but that's also, it does come with a technique and a skill acquisition, which I'm developing slowly. Even after doing it for over 10 years, it's something that I'm still filming every single week, making sure that I'm giving feedback to coach and making sure I'm taking that feedback on board and developing that really strong connection to my glutes is something that I'm going to keep hounding in on. The last exercise that I finished this particular glute day, which is glute C on a Friday, is a variation of a squat. Now, I am not built for barbell squats. I am 5'7.5", and I am all leg, as you can clearly see. So finding a variation of a squat pattern, I really enjoyed barbell front squats. And anything that's on my front, I feel quite secure, but anything on my back, I really struggle. So here, having the belt squat really does help me get that depth. There was a time when I was leaning my torso too far forwards. And then there was a time when I was leaning, my stance wasn't correct. Here, I like to have my feet turned out slightly and I keep my torso locked. So I'm not all the way upright because that's not comfortable for me. I'm with a slight bend. And all of the tension is going through my glutes. I literally feel as if my glutes are being stretched and they come back. And that's something that I do really have to make sure that I'm focusing my mind on, and making sure that I'm focusing my mind to muscle connection on. But these are some of my staple glute movements. Have some variation of a isolation, such as a kickback. You can do any form of a kickback. Have a variation of a hip thrust, if that be a barbell, if that be a machine, whatever you're comfortable with. I do see merit in having a barbell hip thrust. I think it gives you so much more hip stability, pelvic alignment, breathing, bracing. But machine is also a good option, especially if you are working around an injury. Then work towards some form of a RDL, if that be dumbbell, if that be barbell. I've tried it all. Unfortunately, with dumbbells, I can't hold more than 38 kilos on my wrists. They just can't hold that amount of weight. So it's something that I have to really do take into consideration when I'm picking my movements. But then also pick a variation of a squat that's comfortable for you. Now, I see a lot of merit in finding a squat pattern which works well in mechanics. Now, I have to reiterate that these are movements that work for me and have worked for me. Some of them might work for you, some of them might not work for you. If you are trying to grow your glutes, you will not grow your glutes without being in a calorie surplus. What is a calorie surplus? You are eating a little bit more than what you're expending. If you're constantly in a chronic dieting cycle, which I've been there, I wave the flag for, it's not going to get you anywhere. So you need to make sure that you are prioritizing your nutrition, prioritizing your recovery, your sleep, your stress. All of that plays a part into muscle growth. And for myself, I've seen the most amount of progress when I've actually taken a reduction in the amount of days I'm training. So instead of training 5 days, I'm training 4 days. And now I also get that excitement and that buzz to go into the gym. I know that I've done multiple long stints of being in a calorie surplus. Now for myself, and how, because I was 119 kilos and now I'm, averaging 60, between 59 and 65, right? I fluctuate between those two. I know that because I was 119.8 kilos, as you can see on my Instagram, I know my structure now is quite petite. So I need to build more muscle around my petite structure. And that's something that I know I need to take into consideration. So I do have to do long stints, 20, 26 weeks of pushing food, of making sure that I'm being so accurate with my movements, taking adequate rest when needed. Now, the hardest thing for me is when I know I need a deload. When I know I need a deload or a devolume, that is really hard for me, because a lot of us will credit that we go to the gym for our mindset. We don't go to the gym for only aesthetic purposes. Maybe that's why we get into the gym, but then when we see the mental benefits of why we're going, that's why we do decide to stick to a routine and have that habitual activity in there. Some people may find comfort in other forms of movement. For me personally, reformer Pilates or hot Pilates or mat Pilates, and what my predominant sessions being weight training, has seen the most amount of muscle growth. And if you do want to make meaningful change within your physique, because I definitely don't look like the same person I was, for example, 10 years ago when I was early doors into the gym, you have to make sure that you're learning from someone, if that be someone in your gym, if you get a coach, and you're always trying to improve. Now we have access to all this information online. You are able to access a plethora of anything that you want to learn. So it's all about making sure you're applying the knowledge, but in a way that suits you. So I hope this short and snappy video helped you somehow take something away from growing your glutes. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. Make sure you give this video a like and a subscribe, because I upload every single Saturday at 10 a.m. And I hope to see you next week.